Hey, is that folk music that you play there? What is that? How do you call that folk music?
I think it was Studs Terkel who asked Big Bill Brunzi, did he consider his blues music to be folk music? And Big Bill says, well, never heard no horses sing.
Don't hesitate. It could be your ticket to a new tomorrow.
Banjos, no waiting on a little Sandy River bell. And the show is Horses Sing None of It, and our guest today is Rick Palieri.
How you doing there,
Welcome
Ralph?
again. Very good. How about you?
Oh, it's great to be back here. And gee, I've never seen so many people in the studio before. This is wonderful.
Well, we have seen this many people in the studio before, but it's nice to have everybody here. And do you remember when it was that we last taped a show with you? It's been quite a few years.
It was back, I would say, in the early 1990s, around 1991, 92.
That's quite a while. That's almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
That's more than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Couldn't be that long.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago, as I recall.
Well, we're glad to have you back after all this time.
Well, you know, it's really great to come back to New Jersey, Ralph. I mean, of course, this is where I started out. And I've been living in Vermont for almost 25 years. I mean, when I'm home. But I still have a lot of ties. Family is still here in Vermont. I mean, here in New Jersey. And it's great to come back and see a lot of old friends. And it's a kind of part of my history.
Cool. Well, your brother is here in the studio with us, Dave, and he's been doing some artwork for you.
That's right. Oh, yes, he's been kind of assisting me along the way. And it's one of those things that's really nice about families is when you can do something together. And when I was doing my second CD, David, or as he calls himself, Fish, worked on the artwork for the CD. And that was a lot of fun to work on that project together. And on this recent project that we'll talk about in a little bit, this book project, he did design the cover.
And the book has the same title as a video we're about to see.
That's right, that's right.
You want to tell us about this video before they show it?
Well, this video is, you know, why not have music video, you know, for folk? You know, we have country video and we have rock videos and maybe classical video, but you don't see too many folk video. And of course, you know, my video roots are right here in this room. It's you. I mean, when I was on,
Hallelujah!
When I was on your show, it gave me the idea. I was, well, maybe, you know, it would be fun to try and do a show similar to this up in Vermont. And it took a few years of learning, you know, the basic idea. And now I've been doing it for, I guess about 4 years now. And we decided, let's take it one step further. Let's make a music video. So a friend of mine who also works at the community access, Vermont Community Access facility, she got her cameras together and she followed me around, and we produced this little music video.
Okay, take it away, Bob.
Is my mistress, siren of darkness, cloaked in black midnight, she bids me from home. In arms ever winding, I'm lost in her magic, destined to follow wherever she roams. Goodbye, New England, I'm off on your highway, past green, fertile farmlands and fat Holstein cows. Threading my way down the banks of the Hudson, I see New York City. I'm on the road now. The road is my mistress, siren of darkness, cloaked in black midnight, she bids me from home. Arms ever winding, I'm lost in a magic, destined to follow wherever she roams. When I'm on the road and leave my life behind, I seem to spend my time trying to go home. But when I return, my thoughts drift and yearn for an open highway and the song of the road. Another lost week in the hills of the Badlands. I'm slipping in quicksand, my pockets threadbare. The diesels are humming while my guitar's strumming a song of the road, wishing you were here. The road is my mistress, siren of darkness, cloaked in black midnight, she bids me from home. In arms ever winding, I'm lost in a magic, destined to follow wherever she roams. Through rusty red canyons from Casper to Cody, on snake-twisted rivers to Idaho Falls. Just one more old night in this lonely old truck stop. I'm back in this rig up and I'm headed home. Oh, love.
Some real fine yodeling in that video there, Rick. I really like that yodeling.
Well, you noticed that there was no one around, you know, when we did most of this, so that you can feel free to yodel. You know, whenever you yodel, you really need no one around, especially when you're learning, you know that.
You won't be driving any way if you sing when there's nobody there, eh?
That's right. Well, I learned how to yodel with one of those little tapes with Kathy Fink and Marcy Marcer, how to yodel. And I was doing this tour of North Dakota, and I'd shove that tape in, and there was nobody around. I'd be yodeling my head off in the car, and eventually I learned how to yodel. I never thought I would be able to do it, but it's not that hard to do. You just need a lot of practice.
So we were going to talk about this book that's by the same title that's about to be published,
Mm-hmm.
and with cover artwork by your dear brother.
That's right, right. He was the one who figured out this neat idea of sticking a road map on my banjo head, and I think it's a fantastic cover. You know, Ralph, I'm not one of those people who had a dream of being a writer. In fact, I was one of those kids who never had a pencil. You probably know this kid. The teacher would say, Rick, where's your pencil?
Where's your pencil,
I never
Rick?
had a pencil. I never had a piece. I was not a scholarly student, and the idea of writing was not on the top of my agenda, ever. So it's a big surprise to me that I started writing for Sing Out magazine and all these other magazines, because I never wanted to be a writer. And then, you know, so many people kept asking me, well, when are you going to write a book? And finally I said, well, why not give it a try? So it took 2.5 years to put this book together. And I've had so much help with all kinds of volunteers, like my brother working on the cover, Pete Seeger being my first proofreader. Pete read through it and wrote a little blurb on the back, and Utah wrote the forward, and there's all kinds of wonderful people who helped out. So while it's a story about me, I feel like I'm sort of like the host that takes people on a journey of a young boy's ambition to be a singer. And what does that mean? I mean, what do you need to do to become a singer of this kind of music that we call folk? And so you see that whole, you know, journey, and that journey takes you from, you know, over where I grew up in East Brunswick, New Jersey, out to the hills of Poland, where I learned music from the mountaineers, then traveling around America, where I played at over 1,000 schools, sitting in sweat lodges with Kevin Locke, the Native American, learning how to play the flute, being with gypsies out in Scotland and being in their caravans, and cowboys out in Idaho, learning how to rope and ride. It's a lot more than, you know, just picking up an instrument and learning how to play. This is really about, you know, a life change, you know, and you know the same thing about playing this music, how it changed your entire life from what you were to what you are today. You know, it's not like a lot of music that we listen to on the radio. We turn on the radio and we listen to it as a background kind of thing. But when people get involved with the people's music, with folk music, it has this kind of magical feeling that changes us, and we become sometimes something different than we ever imagined. And that's what this book is all about.
Cool. You want to sing about it instead of talking about it some?
Sure, I can sing about it. I can do this song here on this guitar. You also become mighty affected when you play this kind of music. You end up talking different, and God knows what. You know, I don't know what it is about it. It just changes you in all kinds of ways. And it's not something that you consciously think that it's going to happen to you. You know, but before you know it, everybody's going, boy, he's talking different. He doesn't sound like he's from East Brunswick, New Jersey anymore. Well, that's okay. I think that's part of the transformation. You have that harmonica?
I think I do.
This is a song that I wrote for a hobo, and his name is Frog. Now, Frog is one of the hobo kings. There's hobo kings and the hobo queens. They have the big election out in Britt, Iowa. And when I first went out there, it was because Utah Phillips wanted me to meet some of these old-time hobos, and I got to be friends with a lot of them. And this one Frog in particular had an interesting story. He got his moniker, or his nickname, from the way he used to jump onto a moving boxcar. But he's not doing too well these days, and everyone's worried that Frog is going to catch the westbound. Now, that's what the old hobos use when they mean catching that little last train up to heaven. And so it was about 2 years ago. I was just about to head on tour over to England, and I got an email from my hobo friends, because all the hobos are online. And they told me that old Frog, he had caught the westbound. I felt so bad, I wrote this song about it. And then a few days later, I was over there in London, and I got back an email, and it told me that they had this big celebration for Frog, and all of his friends came. They read poetry, they sang songs. In the middle of the ceremony, they got a telephone call from guess who? Frog. He's wondering while everybody's gathered together, and he wasn't invited. Well, everyone was in shock, because they really thought he was dead, and they couldn't understand. They said, Frog, we thought you caught the westbound. We thought you were dead. He said, no. He goes, I didn't die. I got rolled. He said, somebody stole my wallet when I was in Boston. And they went onto a bus in North Dakota, and they died. And when the cops found them, they thought it was me. They called up everybody that I knew and told them I was dead. He said, no, I'm not dead. He said, I didn't catch the westbound. He said, but now I know what my funeral will be like. So here's that song. I live my whole life as a hobo. My only hope is this old train. I've been a frog and a king. Lord, I done everything. Now I'm riding on that westbound train. Let the jungle fires burn wild and free, and pass my bottle around. Let the train whistle blow, tell the old bows I'm riding on the westbound. I slept in every old boxcar. I rode down every railroad line. Well, I don't have to boast. I rode coast to coast. Now I'm riding on the old westbound. Let the jungle fires burn wild and free, and pass my bottle around. Let the train whistle blow, tell the old boat I'm riding on the westbound. Take a ride now. Go ahead, Ralph. Light a candle at the back of my boxcar and gather my good friends around. Let the old banjo ring while the hobos all sing. I'm riding on the westbound. Let the jungle fires burn wild and free, and pass my bottle around. Let the train whistle blow, tell the old bows I'm riding on the westbound. Lay me down on a blanket of cardboard. Use my bindle pillow my head. And when my body's gone, my spirit will ride on, riding on the old westbound. Let the jungle fires burn wild and free, and pass my bottle around. Let the train whistle blow, tell the old bows I'm riding on the westbound. I'm riding on the westbound. I'm riding on the westbound.
All right. Great song, Rick.
It's one of
I
those,
like that one.
those little gifts that sometimes that you get. And the imagery in that song, all of it came true. I mean, everything that I talked about in that song. I mean, when I was with Frog one time when he wasn't feeling well, we were at the Pennsburg, not too far from here, Pennsburg, Pennsylvania. There's a hobo gathering. It happens the second week in September. And Frog came down out of the hospital. He pulled a intravenous out of his arms. He was in the hospital, wasn't feeling well. He came down and he didn't have enough strength to really enjoy himself. So we went in the back of a boxcar and we laid out a big blanket of cardboard, and he was laid down there, and we put train lanterns all around him, and we did a private concert for Frog in the back of that boxcar. So I was thinking about that when I wrote the song.
Wow.
It's, you know, one of those things that you when you start kind of living what you sing about, it it's so much more important. It took me a long time to understand that. You know, growing up here in New Jersey, I read all the books about folk music, and I listened to the Woody Guthrie, and I went to sleep listening to Leadbelly every night as a teenager, and started meeting some of the famous people, and I really thought I knew what folk music was about. And then I went over and lived in Poland in 1984 and realized I knew nothing. I didn't know anything about what real music, the real music of the people, because it's really not about show business, this type of music. It's about the community and how music affects the people who live in the community and fills their needs. So there's the songs about love and songs about, sometimes it's songs about traveling, sometimes it's, you know, all different types of things. And when it all came home, I was first week in Poland, and there was a grandmother who said to me that we were going to eat, and I had to chop the head off the goose. Well, being from East Brunswick, we didn't have a lot of kind of goose chopping going on. And so I was a little bit shaken up, and I was trying to chop the head off the goose, and of course she came over and just right away nipped the head right off, and then she said, well, now it's time to pluck the goose. We have to get it ready. So we're sitting at the table, and we're sitting there, and I'm plucking the goose, you know. Never plucked a goose before, and all these feathers are all around me, and looking at the goose, and all of a sudden I started thinking about that old Leadbelly song that I had sung for years about the gray goose, you know. But I had never plucked a goose. I never held feathers in my hand. And then all of a sudden that song took on a whole different meaning to me. And every time that I sing a song like that, you have these different images, because that kind of music, our music came, in most cases, out of a rural tradition. And but we've taken a lot of that out. I mean, with this new movie that's just out, A Mighty Wind or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that they're talking about. Is one of it's a lampooning of folk music, especially the folk music of the Kingston Trio days. And they're talking about one of the hit songs is "I Never Did No Traveling," or it's a song about I never did travel, because all the songs are about traveling. So, but for me, that's what it's all about. It's really, you know, finding situations where you do live the things that you're talking about, and then it makes it real.
Got another song for us, or a tune?
Oh, let's see what we can do. How about we do something fun on this mouth bow? All right, we got that in C. Remember, we were trying this out? This is a Hopi bow. This is the type of bow that...
let me interrupt you, because we're getting cued to let people know how to get in touch with you through your website.
Okay.
You were too busy saying how it wasn't anything commercial, so we forgot to tell people how to find you.
That's okay.
www.banjo.net is where you can find Rick's touring information and how to get your recordings and
all that stuff.
When your book comes out, they'll be able to find that and so forth.
Now, back to the bow. So, I learned how to play from Jimmy Driftwood, and he was a hero of yours. I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, with his Battle of New Orleans, and
that was the first song that inspired me to learn how to play the ukulele when I was a kid.
He was such a great guy. And the cool thing about him, Ralph, is that if you sat around with Jimmy Driftwood, he would get so excited about just having company, because he loved people around, that he'd start laughing, and he would start slapping his leg. You ever see the old Zolder? He'd slap his leg like that. And, I mean, for real, you know? And then before you know it, he'd start slapping your leg. He'd start, you know, he'd be laughing so hard, he'd go, wham, and slap your leg up there. So if you sat around with Jimmy Driftwood for any amount of time, you ended up with a sore leg. But he also loved to teach people about the mouth bow. He's the one who taught Patrick Skye how to play it, and Buffy St. Marie, and all the people, because not many people knew how to play the mouth bow. He learned it when he was a kid, growing up near Mountain Home up in Arkansas, and he would watch the Cherokee Indians. After they would have a hunt, they'd sit around their campfires, and they'd hold the bow up to the mouth. And they changed the shape of their mouth to get the different sound. Did you ever go to meeting Uncle Joe, Joe? Did you ever go to meeting Uncle Joe, Joe? Did you ever go to meeting Uncle Joe, Joe? Don't mind the weather when the wind don't blow. Hop high, lady, the cake's all dough. Hop high, lady, the cake's all dough. Hop high, lady, the cake's all dough. Don't mind the weather when the wind don't blow. Horse double footer, Uncle Joe, Joe. Horse double footer, Uncle Joe, Joe. Horse double footer, Uncle Joe, Joe. Don't mind the weather when the wind don't blow. Hop high, lady, the cake's all dough. Hop high, lady, the cake's all dough. Hop high, lady, the cake's all dough. Don't mind the weather when the wind don't blow. Ever go to meet Uncle Joe, Joe? Ever go to meet Uncle Joe, Joe? Ever go to meet Uncle Joe, Joe? Don't mind the weather when the wind don't blow. Hop high, lady, the cake's all dough. Hop high, lady, the cake's all dough. Hop high, lady, the cake's all dough. Don't mind the weather when the wind don't blow.
Well, that time really sped by. We just have like 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes
in the show, so whatever you want to do for 2 minutes.
For 2
Rick.
minutes, let's pick up the banjos. We started with the banjos. Let's go out with just a little bit of one. The International Banjo Players Handshake Song. We can do the old Cripple Creek. It's a song that no matter where you travel in the world, you find a banjo player, you can sit down and play a song together. And we'll play it briskly.
Okay.